Hi, I am Anna. I come from www.ntvforex.com. Samp P500 hits an all-time high and USD remains under pressure. Analysis http ntvforex.com News ID A42B728192025 33:09 AM Market movers today. Today's highlight is the Fed minutes from the July meeting, which will be particularly interesting ahead of the important September meeting, where it is expected that Fed will give guidance on the new target. In Euroland, we get the final inflation prints. Virtual OPEC meeting begins. Denmark to sell 2Y and 10Y bonds today. NBSP. The 60-second overview macro. The housing market, fueled by record low yields, remains the bright spot in the U.S. economy. Housing starts jumped 22.6% in July and housing applications increased 18.9%, and the annual rate is now above the February level. NBSP. U.S. politics. According to the Trump administration, a small $500 billion stimulus package is currently on the table between the Republicans and the Democrats. A small package, but it might give some relief that a deal can actually be struck. NBSP. U.S. China. Trump said last night that he personally called off the talks with China over the weekend. The move comes after Trump widened the attack on Huawei suppliers this week, and it raises fears that the so-called Phase 1 deal could be cancelled. If that happens, it could very well derail current positive market sentiment. NBSP equities. U.S. equities performed once again as a new lower yields rally pushed Samp P500 to an all-time high. The strong housing data supported sentiment in housing-related stocks. Furthermore, Home Depot surprised all analysts with a very strong sales announcement, underlining that the pandemic and working-at-home policies are pushing customers to DIY stores. Home delivery is also popular, and Amazon jumped more than 4%, helping to push Nasdaq up 0.7%. The positive sentiment has been carried over to Asia, and Nikkei is up 0.4%. Equity futures also point to a positive opening both in Europa and later in the US. We saw a modest decline in bond yields yesterday, and the U.S. Treasury curve flattened from the long end. We saw the same tendency in our local Scandi markets. 10Y yield spreads between the periphery and Germany were more or less unchanged and are still at a tight level and at or below pre-corona levels. The Danish Debt Management Office will tap in the 2Y and 10Y segment. We expect to see solid demand given the yield pickup to matching German government bonds, as well as better than expected Danish public finances. The Danish mortgage refinancing auctions continue today, with all mortgage banks selling bonds. So far, the mortgage auctions have been running smoothly with decent investor demand. We expect to see the same today. FX Euro USD briefly broke through January 1950 yesterday as the reflation recovery story continued to set the tone in the market. GBP USD edged higher to 1.325, and sterling has now erased 2020 losses against the dollar despite fears UK leaving the EU without a deal. Despite the positive risk sentiment, JPY saw support, and USD JPY has been below 105.2 overnight. USD JPY correlates at the moment closely with US yields. Meanwhile, Scandis struggled and Euro NOK jumping above 10.55 as the market prepares for the Norges Bank meeting tomorrow. Some slight weakness crept into credit markets during the afternoon, which took them slightly wider. iTraxx main ended less than half a point wider and cover slightly less than 1 BP wider. NBSP Nordic macro and markets in Sweden. HOX ValueGuard house prices released this morning recorded a 2.1% MMSA rise in house prices in July. The YY rate was 7.9%. Prices were up 4.7% over the last 3 months. Apartments rose 1.8%, up 3.6% YY. Like in the US, record low mortgage rates have fueled a rally in the housing market despite the pandemic. Subscribe our channel to receive the news as soon as possible. Thank you for watching. If you want to read real-time news, text messages to MT5 Expert Advisors page at https://mt5.expert.advisors.